Hi everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the after show. We're trying out a different visual style today because I left my gorilla pod somewhere, and it means that you're currently sitting on a soup can. Initially you were sitting on a piece of paper, and the only reason that you weren't tilted is because I rested the screen that I've got a handy cam with a screen that comes out, and I rested the bottom of this handy cam on a peanut. But you're doing a bit better now, you're on soup, so you're slightly more nutritious. Welcome. Let's talk about the stories then, shall we? Let's just dive straight on in. Oh, I haven't got them set up for myself, and where the heck is my mouse? There we go, right. So the world's lightest material. I went into this NPA saying that I'm not going to do any stories about 3D printing, and I'm not going to do any about smartphones, and tentatively I'm not going to do any about graphene. Now, the lightest material is technically called carbon aerogel, but it's also called graphene aerogel, so I guess that's a half success and a half failure. It's cool though. Aerogel's been around for a long time. It's nice to see a different iteration of it that isn't like an ethereal blue colour. So to see this weird kind of carbon colour, I don't think there's any better way to describe it, that kind of grey carbon colour, sitting on top of a flower or just being the lightest material in the world is pretty cool. Graphene's already really light, obviously, because it's a 2D material, but you know, to kind of combine that, obviously it's not combining that with aerogel, but to make a sort of something that is derived from carbon in such a manner that it can be called graphene aerogel, then that's pretty cool. I was doing that thing again where I'm calling the stories pretty cool. I assume they're all pretty cool, and we'll move on from there. Tying the fluid in knots, it's really just another one of those things where scientists do a little trick and they kind of mess about with something. A previous one I've seen before is when they managed to get electrons to process around an atom, just like the Bohr model of the atom, the one that you see on all the diagrams and things like that, where electrons are these little things and they orbit in circles around the atom. I've seen a story of scientists doing that, but where they manipulate the Schrödinger model into behaving like the Bohr model using clever sort of electric fields and things like that. And this is another example of that, making a fluid flow in a knot shape, which is pretty cool. And then the next story was the Smellavision, which was smellotastic, of course. I don't want Smellavision. I don't want it. Unless it's involved in augmented reality stuff, I really don't want it. But of course it's also like super impossible to do, because you need the right molecules in the right place, because there are, you know, smells. They're not just like sweet, savoury, sour, or whatever. It doesn't work like that. You pick up different chemicals in your nose, and you can also detect their chirality as well, like whether they're aligned clockwise or anti-clockwise, or you know, if they're mirror flip versions essentially of each other. And that's the difference between oranges and lemons. For example, there's a molecule called limonene, and if you flip it, it smells like an orange, and if you flip it the other way, it smells like a lemon. And those are the key ingredients in the smell of oranges and lemons. So I was going to do a video once, I never actually did it. I might do eventually, but a video on explaining rotations in extra dimensional space. So if you have a 1D thing and you rotate it through a 2D space, you can mirror flip it. You take a 2D thing, rotate it through 3D space, you can mirror flip it. So if you take a 3D thing and rotate it through 4D space, you can mirror flip it. So if you took a lemon and rotated it through 4D space, it would smell like an orange. I was going to do a video on that, but I never did in the end. That was actually, I think that was pre nobody paying attention video idea there, back when I had long hair. I've got way off track. What were we talking about? Oh, the fluid knots. No, it's the smelling the screen. Yeah, I don't want Smellavision, but some people do, so that's cool. The catching divers cutting the internet cables. Yeah, this was actually interesting, because it was underwater, which makes it a cool story. If anybody was at the community video watching session that we had on last Friday, we were doing underwater technology, so to see underwater things happening is nice. But if they're trying to cut the internet, that's not as nice. But I think it was also in the wake of that giant internet war thing that happened a week or so ago, and I wonder whether it's connected to that, but it doesn't seem to be. I honestly haven't read the story very much. I just like the idea of these guys going underwater to go, haha, we're going to snip the internet, except obviously saying that in Arabic, or you know, the Egyptian dialect of Arabic. Viral search, the Microsoft thing. I was just about to say it was pretty cool, but it is pretty cool. If you see the video, there's some guy and he's showing off this thing that allows you to map the virality of a particular piece of content, a link or a YouTube video or something like that, and it makes these cool diagrams and things like that, and you can really sort of, like I said in Nobody Paying Attention, dissect viral media and social media and things like that as people spread ideas and spread things like that. Let's see, the next one was using Twitter to map the languages. Twitter is a fantastic tool. It's an example of big data. I had an idea that I had, and I kind of looked into, in which you go on Twitter and you look up things, word phrases such like "I wish there was," and I wish there was a thing where, and then you find the things that come after it, and you know that that's kind of what's in demand via the people of the internet, what they want to happen. Now, a lot of them aren't very interesting at all, and a lot of them are specific features within things that already exist, but sometimes you come across a really neat idea and you think, wow, if I had the expertise I could actually turn that into a decent product. So Twitter is a nice tool for finding things, and to map languages to location is ingenious, and to make these cool looking diagrams and things like that is just a cherry on the cake. What's the phrase? I don't know what the phrase is. On the ice cream? I don't even know. There's SpaceX's Grasshopper rocket. Oh, I'm doing this in the wrong order. We'll do Tadpoles after this, but SpaceX's Grasshopper rocket was really impressive. Really impressive to see that huge thing. It's like 100 foot go up in the air and land again, all to the tune of Ring of Fire. But still, I am excited. I'm pretty excited about that. I don't know what they're going to use it for. It's reusability of rockets. They want a rocket to send up and to come back down again and to land vertically, which is fantastically audacious and everything that I expect from SpaceX, so all power to them. Tadpoles that see from their tails, scientists grafted an eye onto the tail of a tadpole, or a number of tadpoles, and it didn't actually connect to their brain, but their tails responded accordingly to the light stimuli because they had conditioned them to fear red light, which is kind of mean of them, but we do stuff to mice and people don't seem to complain about that as much. So conditioning tadpoles, because they're baby frogs. I don't know. I don't care. That was a decent story. These bio things, they freak me out, but they're really cool to look at. Just wait till they start happening with people, and then we'll have something to talk about. The pool projector, the snooker table, pool table, whatever you want, billiards. It shows you the path of the ball, just like old video games. I remember playing one of these old video games with the path of the ball and things like that when I was a kid. This one can't actually do spin or you scuffing your shot or anything like that, but it's still really neat, and it's still a good example of what you can do with projection. Like, there was another story I saw elsewhere of a guy who had attached something to the front of his bike that showed his speed. Yeah, he used one of these Raspberry Pis or Arduinos or whatever it is people are doing these days to hook up one of these things, and he'd attached it to the front of his bike, and as he was cycling, a light would show that displayed his speed, and obviously you can extend that to maps and things like that. So just light projection on things is really, there's a lot of potential there, and I don't think we've used that space fully. There's still a bit more to go. Like, maybe we're 80% done with projection, but seeing cool things like the pool table and things like that, and just when you take into account ubiquitous computing and things like that, it's all gonna go good. We're gonna have heads up, heads down, as it were, displays on objects. And then the final story was the Vatican Library putting everything digital. I have no qualms with this at all. Zero qualms. Go ahead, Vatican. Do it. Do all of it. Because there are some really interesting texts in there that people haven't been able to see for years. That is a bit of an understatement. Centuries old texts in there. Really important things to our culture, or to Western culture, and really important things to philosophy and theology and all sorts of things like that just haven't been seen. So to digitize them and make them available makes it so that you can read them without having to touch them, which is exactly what you need when you have a library full of things that fall apart the moment you touch them, because they're made of ancient papyrus and wax tablets and all sorts, whatever they used to use to write things. That's it. I'm not going to tell you to run around your house again. I trust you carried that out. I look forward to seeing you next month. This month I'm actually going to do some things. We're going to have, I'm thinking of doing an anniversary quiz, and I'm going to see what else I can think up to celebrate 1 year of nobody paying attention, even though that was only like 10 proper videos, but whatever. It's a year in time, even if it's not a year in videos. And I will see you soon. Thanks for coming to the after show, and yes, thank you.